Growing with email is the title of this this presentation, but there's, as I say, there's a couple of sides to it which I'll take you through in a sec. But before that, who are we? Who are Sopro? So Ollie knows Sopro pretty well. He works with us on a couple of fronts. We started in 2015 with a simple mission. It was to take the first part of the sales funnel, which is the cold outreach, lead generative side, take it away from salespeople having to do it and make it as efficient and effective as possible. If you are a salesperson, the more time you have in front of potential clients, the more people you're likely to sell to. If you're spending 80% of your time cold approaching, sending people messages on LinkedIn, picking up the phone, sending emails, whatever that is, you've wasted it, 4 out of 5 days of the week. Traditionally, what we do used to be covered off by marketing companies, but more of a kind of bolt on to what their standard offering would be. So maybe they do branding and they say, oh, we'll send some emails for you as well. So it never really got the attention it needed. And that's really what Rob and Ryan set out to achieve. So we've only been going, I say only, I'm used to saying we're quite new, but 7 years old now. Started back in 2015. Rob and Ryan are the founders. They had to, as I'll go through this, they've never had any funding in this business. So it's been built up from the ground by acquiring clients, making money from them, and then using that to further invest into the business and get to where we are now. I was the third person to join them. Well, third person in the business, or I guess first person to actually join them. And they brought me on to really sell. It's a bit of a unique scenario where when you are looking to grow your team, there's not often you can say to people, come and work for a commission only type approach, but that's what they asked me to do. And luckily it was a good product and a good business, and it paid off. So we at the moment have about 240 people in the business. We're spread across 2 main locations. So one thing we've done that's helped us scale is we have certain roles out in Macedonia, sorry to say North Macedonia, which are the more techie roles, and a lot of we call them operations, which really does quite a lot of the process-driven admin side of our service. And the split is about 190 over there, and I think it's about 60 here. So that 240 is probably even out of date, because we've got 15 current live roles we're hiring for at the moment. So I have to keep updating these slides. Worked with over 1,500 B2B clients, and what we do is we run email prospecting. So at the moment, we are identifying and emailing around about or over 3 million prospects on behalf of our clients. That's split across several hundred clients. We're not firing out that many emails for just one of them. And we've sent 14, 15, 16 million emails to date. If you do take a look at our website or on our social pages, we recently produced the State of Prospecting, which is a whole blog which essentially gives you all the insights on what we've learned from those stats. And we're generating a load of new business for our clients. So that's who we are. This basically shows you a bit about the growth that we've had. The plan has been to double every year. So that's quite important when you're looking at where you want to be. If you think about you're at point A now, if you want to be a £10 million business, you don't necessarily go on a straight line. You think about, right, where do I want to be next year? Where do I want to be the year after that? Where do I want to be the year after that? And then you keep growing till you get to that point. Obviously, you want to keep the graph going up. Our plan is to, again, double this year. It gets harder and harder, but we have a sensible business plan laid out to do it. But as you can see, it didn't happen overnight. It's slow growth. And I'm going to show you about how we went about tackling the problem of growing without loads of money being put in the bank by any sort of investment. So there's three things I want to look at. First thing is starting to build your team, then how you can scale those departments. And the second part of this is really about the channel that we've used. We use email for ourselves. We do it for our clients. What I'm going to tell you is, if you're going to send out emails, this is how you should do it. So basically, we're very open as a business, and we're happy to tell everyone how they can do it themselves. And if they get to a point where they don't want to do it themselves, that's where we come in. So let's think back to when we first started the business, or when Rob and Ryan first started the business. If you have no investment, you can't just go out and hire people. As I said, it was a bit of a rare situation that they were lucky that I was in a position where I was happy just to take the risk of going there with no salary. So unfortunately, what you find yourself doing is everything. And I don't want to sit here and sound like one of the classic people that sit there and say, oh, you got to hustle, you got to do this, you got to get up at 5 a.m, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. But ultimately, if you can't hire people, you do have to do all those parts of a business. You have to be the owner, you have to do your marketing, you have to do your sales, you have to account manage if that's the type of business you're in. Luckily, you don't have to necessarily have HR or look after the employees because you are that person. But everything that a business has, all the different departments, you're there having to do. So when we first started, the business itself as well wasn't in a position where Rob and Ryan could take a wage from it. So it was all, when they very first started, it was outside of their main job before they could start bringing on clients and actually taking a wage from the business. So when you're juggling a full-time job and a business, that's when it really gets busy. So one of the things that's really important if you want to grow as a business is looking at what you offer in terms of the product or the service, and think how integral are you to the business. I've seen it myself where we were involved with another business, and the person who was running that one, they never really were able to let go of any of the offering and the delivery and the day-to-day tasks that they had to do for their clients. As such, it became impossible to grow. If you are the one that the whole business is based around, so it's your knowledge, your expertise, and you cannot pass that on to other people in your business, you will not be able to go anywhere, because there's only so many hours in the day that you can work and you can look after or deliver or whatever it is you do. Now, for some people, that's fine. If you have a lifestyle business and you want to be more of a consultant and you have a few people that help you out, great. You cannot get to 100, 200, 500 staff if you are that integral to the business. So if you've got a business and you have something you offer to people, you want to be able to productize it so that other people in the business can offer that. So our whole service is, from a logic standpoint, it all really stems from Brian and Rob, but everyone can deliver what they want to be delivered. And that's why they were able to step back fairly quickly and concentrate on what's important, which is strategy, growing, and everything else that comes with running a business. So you want to make sure that you can hand over each separate responsibility as you get to the point of being able to grow it. What that comes with in its own challenge is, well, what do you grow first? What's the most important department you want to bring on to your business? Now, obviously, it's going to be different for each business and what you do, but I'll tell you the process that we followed to grow to where we are. The first thing was delivery. So what we do for our clients, the owners cannot be sitting there, as I just mentioned, doing all the doing. It just doesn't work. It's not possible, and you're never going to grow. So our way of growing to begin with was to hire people to help us with the delivery and more on the admin side out in North Macedonia. Now, what that comes with in terms of benefits is, of course, a cost saving. A lot of people outsource things to different countries. We don't outsource it because they're our employees. We have our office out there. They're entirely Sopro people. We tried a couple of locations. So first off, we were dealing with a company over in India. And when we actually initially ran, we were sending messages on LinkedIn. And they were very process driven. It was a very efficient way of doing things. But Ryan had previously opened an outsource office where actually he's dealt with India, he's dealt with South Africa, and he'd also run something in Macedonia. And he had a really good experience in Macedonia. So we were like, okay, let's try somebody. We took on Monica, who is an absolute linchpin in the business. But her team became operations, which is like country manager out there now. But that's about 90 in headcount now. And they do, as I mentioned, more the admin side of the delivery. If we're identifying lists of people to contact for our clients, there's a lot of work that goes into that, all the tech back end. So at that point, we weren't spending our days, me, Ryan, Rob, we weren't deep in spreadsheets. That could be taken care of somebody else, and that's a huge amount of work off of our hands, which was great. Now, you've got a service, you can deliver it. You, of course, need to get clients. Now, I was doing sales, but there's only so much I could do myself. So that's the next department we went to grow. And as Ollie mentioned, or we were chatting about before this session started, sales is really the most important department to get going at the beginning, because without people buying stuff from you, you aren't a business. You're just an idea. So the sales, the reason we did delivery first is so that as we grew sales, we could look after those clients. But pretty soon, those clients needed a lot of attention. It's not just about giving them what they require in terms of the service we offer. It's about looking to keep them happy, make sure they're getting benefit from the service, and look to grow them. So the next thing was account management. We chose to base that here in the UK. We call them client services. And they helped us maintain and keep clients with us for long term, rather than having a high level of churn. I'm sure you've all heard that it's much more cost effective to keep a client than to acquire a new one. So that's why it's a really important part that we brought in as a really third to the team, so that we're now in a position where we can bring in clients, we can maintain them, and we can deliver what our service is to them. And that those teams have pretty much grown alongside that graph I showed you earlier. In 2018, so 3 years into our journey, we doubled the client services to 4 people. That's now currently about 45, and operations, as I said, that's currently running about 90. At that point, you've got a business. You are making money, or you should be, and then you get all the other things, or the other departments that you find you have to bring in as you get to a certain point. Next thing is finance. What's happening with the money? You need to be able to report on that. You need to be able to forecast. You need, accounts being run. So our finance team was the next thing to come in, which started with, and this is what I'd advise you doing as well, it started with a part-time CFO. There's lots of people who will be your financial director or your CFO for 1 day a week, and then suddenly it's 2 days a week, and then you get to the point where they need help, so you hire somebody internally. So the finance team is, 10 people, I think, at the moment, maybe more. I don't get too involved with that. They're very good at what they do. They make sure that invoices go out and payment comes in, which is the key thing. And they're responsible for a lot of our forecasts. So our plan for this year, they put all that together. You'll notice that marketing is what comes in next. Now, marketing is very important, but it's pretty expensive. And there's 2 sides to marketing. You have your brand side, where you are looking to be attractive to people, and you want to be a recognized name. You want to have a nice looking website. And then you have the other side, which is more demand generation, which is where you're often paying money to get leads in, to get inquiries in. And they're both very important. But when we first started, there's no money. You can't hire people. You have to bring in clients first. So we were fortunate that our whole service is about generating leads. So we use that from day dot. So we're Sopro's first and biggest customer ourselves. We use that from the beginning to grow. And then when we got to a point where we had the money and we could start hiring marketing, that's when we layered in our other channels. So we also use PPC. We had a whole brand refresh that came or launched last year, back in March. That took a lot of time. A lot of money, a lot of people getting together and liking and not liking parts of a new branding. And we do events. There's lots of things that we do, but that came very much later down the line. We maximized that channel in terms of email, and then we started adding things on. You might want to get marketing started early doors, but actually, we're evidence that if you can run effective outreach yourself, you don't have to worry so much about the marketing, because marketing all it's there to do is to get people coming to you. So if you go out to them in the first place, then you can start building your marketing team. And then lastly, HR. If you get to a certain size, you've got to have people looking after the people. And that for us is, well, not just HR in terms of making sure everyone's happy, but of course, recruitment, which becomes your biggest challenge and probably is our biggest challenge right now. You know, you start off with, you're growing, people can come on board and they get excited, they get caught up in the success. But then when you are a bit more fully fledged, people are coming into a job rather than an exciting growing company. So
Steve, we've got a HR and talent expert on the call.
Oh yeah.
Haven't we, Nicola?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I'm mute. Can I help?
I mean, HR is, there's been a lot of positive movement in our business since we have had, well, and like with our other roles, started off 1 day a week, quickly grow to 2. Suddenly we're swallowing up all, and it's Michelle who does it for us, swallowing up all our time. She's now full-time, and we've got L&D working, or a learning development department that works underneath her. She's got all the recruitment people, and yeah, just having people focusing on the employee side of things is huge, because of, as I mentioned, if you are a small business, you have that small business culture. People are excited. When you get bigger, you can't expect them to have that level of excitement because they're coming on to do a job, you know, being paid to do their job. So that's the journey we took anyway. You'll do what works best for you, but that's a sensible way to layer it on, where you can hand over the responsibilities in the right way. Now you've got these teams. Hopefully you've got to that point, and you need to manage them. One of the things we attribute a lot of our growth to is KPIs, or our KPIs, because you want each department to have a clear goal, a clear mission of what they're there to do. And if you can kind of evaporate that down to just 3 main key metrics, it becomes very easy to keep focus on, right, we want to achieve these 3 things. In terms of sales, the department that I run here, we look at obviously number of clients we're bringing in. We look at the value of those clients that we're bringing in, and then we're also looking at the funnel that we're achieving from lead to deal, so the conversion. And if we can improve all of those, we're going upwards. But that's 3 nice little things for us to focus on, and we apply that to every single department. So if you're in client services, you are there to retain clients, and that's on 2 things. That's following on from the minimum contract and then ongoing. And you're there to look to upsell those clients. I mean, upsell makes it sound a bit harsher, but you know, it's growing within a business. We work with some very large organizations, and we might work with just 1 department. We can go into other ones, that's even better. And then the other thing they're looking to do is a bit of acquisition as well. So if they've got people that move on to new roles, they'll look to get that in. And if you can then get all these KPIs together, you should be able to formulate a bit of a master plan. And then you can be confident that every different department knows what they're doing, they know what they need to achieve. And if they all achieve it, you know what your outcome will be. And that's how we planned our doubling in size every year. It's boiled it down to simple metrics. Within my metrics, of course, if I'm looking at conversion, I'm thinking about, okay, so lead to pitch to proposal to close, and I can break it down further, and I can look at each source. But that's for me to do. In terms of what am I doing for the business, 3 nice easy KPIs, everyone knows what they're up to, and that really takes us to where we are today. And we're just looking to keep growing those teams. We're looking to go into America, so we can get an office over there. Now, I'm going to get through this bit quite quick, because what I'm going to do is make these slides available to you. But I just want to give you a kind of 3-minute buzz through how to get sales using emails. And as I mentioned, sales is, or we spoke about this at the start, sales is so important because you have to have clients, otherwise you're not going anywhere. So in terms of email, we feel it's the best channel. We've grown with it. We owe it all to email prospecting, say email marketing. There's lots of email marketing, but we call it direct emails. And it's pretty black and white. If you spend money on email, you get more money back, as long as you do it right. So there's 4 types of email: direct, nurturing, promotion, newsletter. I'm not talking about the other 3. I'm not talking about your fancy HTML designed emails and your updates. I'm talking about direct, that is either sent from person A to person B, or you do something similar to us where you replicate person A to person B at scale. So you're not having to do all that manual work. If you want to write your own prospecting emails, get into the right mindset. We call it person on the train. So imagine you're on your way to a meeting, you're 10 minutes out from your station, and you spy someone on LinkedIn or wherever you see them, and you think that could be a customer. I actually want to get in touch with that person. You go to write them an email. You've only got 10 minutes, probably 5 minutes, so you can pack your stuff away. So you write them a quick, brief intro. Hi, just getting in touch. This is me. This is who we are. I want to speak to you because I think we could benefit X, Y, Z. Let's have a chat. Shut your laptop, get off the train, and go to your meeting. That's the thought process and the mindset we have for the emails that we write. If you try and polish something, it's not going to come across very well, because you can tell when something's overly or written too much, I guess is probably the right way to put it. What is your email trying to achieve? Quite simply, you don't want to get them as a customer, you want to get them to speak to you. So you need enough info to generate an interest. You need enough so the person you're emailing can go, well, is that for me? Is it relevant? Am I interested? So they can qualify themselves in or out. And you want to do whatever the next step is. And the next step you always want to achieve, if you're trying to sell to somebody, is a call, or even better, a meeting. Don't try and sell to people over email. First off, it's not very engaging. And second of all, it's very hard to, how you write an email in your head, you might sound all happy and chirpy. They might read it sounding miserably. You just can't do that. You have to sell to people on a face-to-face meeting, unless you have a service or product that's fairly transactional in terms of sales. You wouldn't do this for e-commerce, for example. When you send your email, as I was going to send these slides out, subject line is the first thing people see, and they decide whether to open it or not. Don't make it look mass marketing. So you'll see this slide when I get it sent across. We find a short, sharp, punchy subject line works best. And if you can personalize it with their name or their company name, brilliant as well. It's also good to just put in the subject what you want to achieve. Not, I'm going to get you more leads, or, we can help with your, or we can help your people in your HR department. You don't want to do that because then they go, okay, someone's trying to sell me HR services or trying to sell me marketing. You also don't want to mislead people, so you don't try putting the trick where it pretends that you've responded. You don't want to start a kind of professional engagement on a lie, essentially. So just a simple, this is what I want to do, company/Sopro meeting. There is a few anomalies. It says keep it short and simple. There are a few longer ones that actually perform quite well, but generally, statistically, less than 15 characters is your sweet spot for your subject line. So you've sent an email, it's in their inbox, they've decided to open it, basically a subject line. Next thing happens very quickly, they scan it visually and they ask 2 things. Does it look like it's specifically for me? And will it take me less than 30 seconds to read? And if they answer yes to both of them, there's a good chance they'll actually read it. If it's no, they won't. So do not have a long email, do not put loads of bullet points in there, do not put a load of images and stuff like that, because again, it looks marketing. They will need to feel as though your email has come directly from your Outlook or your Gmail and it's gone only to them. Now, we don't recommend actually doing that because it's very time consuming, but if you're doing it en masse, you need to make it feel that way. So we find that a nice formula is to have your greeting, your softener. People have 2 minds about softeners. It's a bit like someone cold calls you on the phone and they go, oh, how are you today? How's the weather? You think, why are you asking me that? But you do kind of need it in an email, and whether it's a softener that acknowledges that softeners are a bit cheesy, whatever it is, just a little bit between the name and what you want to speak to them around. You'll notice that we've got morning Tony there as well, rather than hello. I wouldn't use hello in an email. It's a bit of a strange word that you don't tend to use that often in normal business language. You normally would say hi, good morning, good afternoon. Hello just feels a bit bizarre, so I wouldn't put that in there. And make sure you've got a name as well. The amount of emails I get with hello first name, Yes, well, you failed at the first hurdle. So get that bit right. We've got the intro and rationale behind the cold contact. Why are you making touch with them? And you can acknowledge that it is cold. And at this point, you can be quite honest. You want to sell to them. Don't hide from that. That's fine. You want to introduce them what you can do because you think what you have could benefit them. You know, go back to HR. If you're contacting a smaller business, there's a good chance that they don't have an HR function because they're not to that stage, but they do need some support. So therefore, that's why I'm making contact to see whether I can be of service. The logic for the next step, which is, I of course cannot tell you everything that I do or can offer you over an email. So it'd be great to have a phone call or have a meeting, whatever that may be. And then a call to action. So a call to action is so important because someone might read it and be teetering. And just by saying, oh, what about having a call next week? Will make them go, oh, I might look at that. And it just tips them over the edge to see about checking their diary and whether they do want to have a chat. And then make sure your signature's in there. Yeah. If you get an email that doesn't have a signature, you just think it looks very spammy. I don't pay any attention to those emails. Well, actually, I do. I forward them all to my SDR and say, there's another terrible email if you want to make a LinkedIn post about how not to do it. So make sure your signature's in there. So you can see that is a short email, 4 paragraphs if you like, but some of those paragraphs are just sentences. You don't need to make it any longer. I wouldn't make it too much shorter, but I'll show you in a sec why actually overall the detail is less important. When you've written your email, by the way, reread it, and we call it like conducting a 10-year-old test. If it makes sense to a 10-year-old, that's good. If it doesn't, you need to use more simple language. You're not dumbing it down for people, but if you read something quickly, or the person you're sending to reads it quickly and they can't gather what your key message is and what you want to speak to them about, they're not going to do anything. A lot of websites, I'm sure you go on them, you read them and they talk all this fantastic talk. You go, but what do you actually do? I just don't know what you do. You don't want that to seep into your the language of your emails. Keep it very, very simple. We do actually say that you shouldn't actually hire 10-year-olds. So it's more of a mindset than an employment bit of advice. And when we're looking at the detail, obviously you need to ideally let them know why you want to speak, but we tested this out, which was a cow fail email. And we said, well, want to chat to you about how we can help you out with some sales prospecting. Don't want to sound like every other email. So here's a cow fail, and send that picture. And by and large, that performed as well, if not slightly better, than our normal prospecting emails. So it just goes to show that your email doesn't win people over because you've wowed them with how you can help them. You've engaged them. You've broken down a barrier and you've got to the point where they go, I like the sound of this company, this person, I'm going to have a chat to them. You fire out enough of these emails day by day, you will, not necessarily the cow fail ones, but these type of prospecting emails, you will get replies and you will start conversations. And they're the people that can become your first customers. And all you've spent is your time sending those out, and or if you find yourself a bit of software that does it on a slightly larger scale. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of the emails is the importance of chasing those initial emails. There's lots of stats flying around that people buy after 12 touch points, yada, yada, yada. I mean, that's more from your very first cold touch point to the point they sign the contract. And yes, there's lots of those. In terms of cold emailing people, there needs to be a balance. You need to be, you need to persevere, but without becoming a right pain. You know, if you send someone 8 emails and they've not replied, take the hint. You know, they're not particularly interested. So we've tested loads of volumes and loads of times between each email, and we find that 3 emails to chase up on that first email, spaced about a week apart. We do it 6 working days, so it lands in the diary a different day of the week. That's about the right mix. And the process that we advise you follow is you introduce yourself, you nudge that email. The next one is, look, I haven't heard back from you, perhaps there's someone else I can speak to. And the last one is the final breakup email. You're probably very familiar, you probably receive these types of emails. And we know a lot of companies that try and replicate what we do. Actually, we've got lawyers dealing with some that completely rip off what we do. Even though that a lot of other people do this style approach, and you've seen a lot of it, it does work because The people it doesn't work on, if you've done it right, are the ones that just it's not the right time for them. That's fine. You're just trying to find where the people have got what you're offering on their mind, it's on their agenda, and suddenly your email lands and they go, actually, yeah, let's talk about this. So in terms of how you should write those, have some personality, have a bit of humor in them. I'll send you these examples. I mean, this reminder is just that, sure, your email got buried, keen to speak to you. But this one is a bit of a joke where it says, looking to speak to somebody else, that I'm looking to speak to the right person. If I'm at the correct tree, not that I'm calling you a tree, can we speak? And we get a load of funny replies. Somebody wrote back to describe themselves as a gold thread cypress bush. This is slightly different. And then our final email could be something like this, where we say, look, don't want to keep pestering you. Let me know 1, 2, or 3. You're not interested. I should follow up in a month, or a ninja hamster has been preventing you from replying. And of course, there is a ninja hamster. It's silly, but it's a bit more interesting and a bit more amusing than just a plain text one, just saying, oh, I'll stop emailing you. We got a pug rocker. We got a whole library of these types of things. And some people, they shy away from putting humor in their emails because they think, well, someone might not find that funny, or they might get the wrong idea. As long as, no one can get offended by a pug rocker. And sure, some people won't find it funny. Doesn't matter. Your email isn't trying to please everyone. It's going out there and hopefully pleasing the majority of people. And we got stuff like this as a reply. This is actually something that landed in my inbox. It says, Steve, first I was busy, then you irritated me, you made me laugh. So let's speak sometime next week or the week after. If you're sending emails yourself manually, you'll go to send that second email, you go, oh, I don't want to annoy them. When you go to send that third email, you'll be like, oh, but they haven't replied, maybe I shouldn't send it. It gets even worse on the fourth. So if you're going to set something like this up and you're going to fire out a load of emails to get business, I would advise doing it on an automated basis. You can get plugins for Gmail. I think one of them is called reply.io. You're talking like $20 a month, and they will look for a reply to your email. And if not, it will send your next part of the chain on. So you can create your own little sequence, select how the gap between them, and it will fire those emails out. And if they don't reply, or when they do reply, it'll stop. And then you can either handle the lead or you can deal with the decline, whatever that is through. And always reply to every single reply that comes through. We turn a lot of declines into interested people. If somebody writes back and says, no thanks, is it a no? Is it a never? You can't say, oh, why not? But what you can say is, thanks very much for letting me know. A bit more information about what you do, and just say to them, if it does come on your agenda further down the line, please reach out back to me. And a lot of people will look at that and they may have flippantly replied to you, and they go, actually, I will have a conversation. Not all of them. It might be like 1 in 10, but that's still 1 in 10 that you wouldn't get if you just didn't bother. So reply to every single reply that comes through. In terms of volume, if we're looking to work with a salesperson, we tend to say go out to about 1,000 people a month, spread it on a daily basis. You can go higher, but just bear in mind, if you are sending a decent volume of emails out, you need to keep an eye on your domain, your reputation, not ruin that. But that's a whole other subject for another day. In terms of volumes, if you can get 20, 30 emails out per day and then have the chasers going out, you're going to get interest, you're going to get people talking to you. And if you're either not targeting the right people, or unfortunately, your business or your idea that you think is great might not be. And it's the best litmus test. If you go out to your target audience and people are interested, you've got something right. If people aren't interested, maybe it's back to the drawing board. So there's a summary. Keep it simple, be funny, and make sure you chase people when you're sending these emails out. And be frank, we fully attribute our growth to the fact that we have systematically prospected people from the very beginning of our business, alongside all the logic I told you at the start in terms of setting up those departments, handing over when it's relevant, and managing them with simple KPIs. That's enough of my dulcet tones. I will now happily take any questions from the floor if there are any.
Thank you very much, Steve. That was great. I'm just going to take the screen down. Any questions, anyone?
Yeah, I've got one.
Fire ahead, Paul.
Okay, Steve, thanks very much. That was really, really interesting. Just well, a couple of points really, but mainly, do you deal with quite small companies or large companies, or does it tend to be larger companies? You've got sales teams and all that sort of thing.
Everything. We work with owner-managed businesses where they don't have a sales team, and they certainly don't find a prospect.
Yep.
And I think, I mean, our largest customer is probably, we work with Tata, who are part of multi-billion organization. But yeah, so it's anything. But when it comes to the smaller side of the businesses, we're not cheap, and although it's cheaper than hiring, not all the people can afford it. So yeah, all sides. And actually, if anyone wants to know more about Sopro, they can go through Ollie to make an introduction.
Yeah, definitely. No, very interesting. Thank you. That's great.
I was going to mention there's a number of you on the call who are looking for investment, and I've always said, that's fine. It might suit your particular needs, your particular business. But if you go seeking that investment, you've got sales under your belt, that's a much easier conversation, yeah, to have. If you've got a model that is working, that's generating revenue and profits, you sit down with them investors, that's a better conversation. We had David Norman on last week, and he's actually going to be talking on Wednesday at our Start to Pitch event. And he said the same thing. From a VC, he is a VC. From an angel perspective, you go and get them sales, you're going to get a better deal.
I will just on the sales side of things, Ollie. There's a lot of people don't believe they're a salesperson. They think it's some magic witchcraft where you can coax people into doing stuff they never thought they'd do. You think about the classic second-hand car salesperson trying to offload their rubbish cars off their lot to people. That's not what it is. And actually, the hard part of sales is that first part, which is the knocking on the doors, getting people to speak to you in the first place. That's the hardest graft. When somebody wants to find out about your business, you'd be very surprised. Pretty much all owners suddenly become salespeople because you talk about your project, what you have to offer, you deliver it with passion because it's yours, and you'll have all the info you need to tell them and see whether it's the right fit for them. So actually, when it comes to doing sales, a lot of people shy away from it because they think it's something they can't do, but actually it comes naturally to pretty much all people who start and run a business. The only thing you have to do after is just be a bit persistent with the close.
I agree with that. And every business I've ever got involved in, I believe in it 100%. So when I had my healthcare business, we were saving lives. So I didn't take that approach of I'm a salesperson. I'm going out there spreading the message because people need this. We're going out saving lives. We were, and it wasn't a hard sell. I just wanted to get out there and spread that. The same with Start to Stand Up. We're creating value, and we want to get the word out there. So if you believe in what you're doing and you've got the right value proposition, why wouldn't you go out there and spread the word?
And it also doesn't matter if you speak to somebody and they choose not to use you. That's exactly. Don't feel too upset when you don't win a business. I think a conversion of say 10% of opportunities is pretty good, but that means 9 out of 10 people say thanks but no thanks. You just need to move on from those. Just make sure you are getting that one, because 0 out of 10 isn't so good.
Yeah. Steve, thank you very much for that. Any additional questions whilst we got Steve on the call this morning, guys? No? Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much again, Steve. And we look forward to seeing everyone, if you can make it, next Wednesday, our Step Up to Pitch event. And we'll see everyone then. Have a good weekend, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.